Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents, and our doublers are on ahead of Double Gameweek 32. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Newcastle United correspondent. It's Simon Bibby. How you say it?
Very well, thanks. Still basking in the glory of our cup final win a few weeks ago.
As you so should, mate. And our Crystal Palace correspondent, Rory McLoughlin-Dowd's here. Now, you, Rory?
I'm all right. Still mostly conscious.
I thought you were going to say basking in the glory of beating Brighton. And I was going to say, so you should.
Yeah, well, we expect that, don't we?
Dig already. So it's been only a couple of weeks since we last spoke. Has it settled now? Is it real? The winning the trophy?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Everyone's just talking about this Champions League, this mad Champions League race now. So, yeah, I don't know. No, I guess not. It feels like it kind of maybe a dream and didn't really happen. And so I'm not in the country for the parade that went down, so I had to kind of watch all that online at a weird time of the day as well. So yeah, just like still surreal, still bizarre, but it seems like everyone's kind of locked in on trying to get this Champions League spot now. So yeah, we've got something to play for at least in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of feels where the conversation's at in terms of the Premier League table, who's going to lock in those spots in the top five. Rory, is Europe beyond you through the league first and foremost?
I think it probably is just because of the fixtures. I mean, it's a few things, isn't it? Because we've obviously got the game in hand against Newcastle, which is away. So it's Newcastle away, Man City away, Arsenal away, Liverpool away. We'll throw Spurs in there as well, just to be kind. But we've
Thanks.
just got some difficult away games between now and the end of the season. So I mean, it's tough. That's one of the reasons why our away record looks so good is because of the fixtures we've got left. But it's not necessarily beyond us because we went on a bit of a tear at this stage of last season when we had nothing to play for. The other element is we've obviously got the cup to concentrate on. We've got the semi-final, which realistically, I said on Slack the other day that we've got basically two games left this season. One was the Brighton game. That was the last kind of league game of the season that I functionally care about. And then the FA Cup semi, which of course, if we lose, then, you know, have we got anything to play for? Not really. And if we win it, everyone will be playing for their places to get into the final. So I guess there'll be some motivation for the players. But can we get into Europe? It's like the number of teams above us. So we're thinking it will probably go down to eighth, right? So it's Fulham, Brighton, Bournemouth, and then us. Um, I'm pretty sure they all have to play each other, but that means we need these teams to drop points every week, basically, because the fixtures we have are so difficult. I mean, we've got Wolves left and we've got Tottenham left below us, and I think everyone else is above us.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. Despite having the game in hand, even including that, I've got you second bottom of my ticker from now to the end of the season. The only
Yeah,
team I've actually got below you on my ticker is Tottenham.
yeah.
That's, I mean, was consequent. You've got five away games left from what you've got, what, eight left to play. Five are away, and by a distance, your easiest away game left is Tottenham.
Yeah, but you can look at it. I mean, you can spin narratives, can't you? If you're sort of a Palace fan who's trying to say we could get Europe, you would say our away form's good. So playing those difficult games away maybe isn't so bad, and we'll pick up points. And then, so Fulham are quite erratic, and one week they're very good, as we saw against Liverpool, and another week they're not so good. Brighton are actually worse against worse teams. So if they're playing against big teams, you almost expect them to pick up more points than against lesser teams. And Bournemouth seems to be on a bit of a downward trend in the last couple of weeks anyway. So yeah, you can look at it either way. I personally think our best chance to get Europe is through winning the cup because we've only got to win two games. We can probably only win a handful of games left in the league, so I would just go all out for that Villa game because they've got bigger fish to fry themselves between now and then, don't they? So
How much do you fancy that? Because you well beat them in the league a little while ago as well.
yeah, I mean Glasnow's not lost to Emery in the Premier League at least. So last season we beat them 5-0. They're obviously still on the piss from getting Champions League football, and then we drew in the league this season, but we were ahead. And then we beat them in the League Cup 2-1 and beat them in the league again, but they had two goals disallowed, so that could have been 4-3, you know. So that all four of those games have been quite tight, except the 5-0. But we've got the better of them in recent games. And I know I'm like, um, if you hear Villa journalists talking about Palace, like Dan Bardell or someone, he was basically saying that we're a bit of a bogey team for them. So if they have a perception of us as a bogey team, then that's always going to help us.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great semi-final, actually. It feels, although they're stronger in terms of squad depth, etc., it feels quite evenly balanced as a one-off tie, actually. Sai, you're second on my ticker, the opposite, not 19th. You're second from now till the end of the season. You must fancy the chance of finishing top five, which it's in your hands very much so now, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'd imagine that's because we've got a double coming up. Like, is that what's it gonna look like in 33 once we're past
Well,
this? I
like, I
guess we
still even
drop down
think
a little bit.
if you look at your home game, Seth, you've got obviously 8 to go as well, with 5 being at home. So United in between their Europa quarterfinals isn't great for them.
Hmm.
Then Palace, Ipswich at home, Chelsea at home, Everton at home. So Chelsea's the competitor you play in there. You've also got to go to Villa, you've got to go to Brighton, you've got to go to Arsenal. Those 3 away games are challenging. But if you win
Yeah,
your home games, mate, I think that'd be enough.
yeah. If you tell me if we win our home games, we'll have enough points. They don't look like the sort of sides that we've slipped up against at home this season, to be honest. Um, United tend to perform better against the bigger, so-called bigger teams. But yeah, you're right. Their focus will be on Europe. Similar to Palace in the Cup. Ipswich by that point will probably be relegated, I'd imagine. Game week 34, if they're potentially, you tell
It's
me.
fair to say they're going down, so
Yeah. But whether they're officially relegated or whether that's like their last game before it's mathematically, sometimes that can spur them on to play a bit better. Chelsea, we seem to have the better of them, and God, they'll probably be like close to sacking their Maresca by that point as well. And then like Everton last game, I think that's a great final day fixture just because they'd have had all the emotion of their last game at Goodison the week before, and they'll be just have nothing to play for. So we could do bits on them as well if we need to. So home games look fantastic, and none of those away games particularly scare me, to be honest. Like Villa away, yes, they're playing well, but again, tell me if that's going to be potentially one of their rotation fixtures. I don't know, but would they more likely rotate for their second game in 33?
no, probably not actually. Because they'll have PSG on the Tuesday, then obviously yourselves Saturday, and then it's City Tuesday. So I think they'll go all out to try and beat you, I would think, actually.
Yeah. Okay. That will be a tough game. Although I think you had me on last season before we went to Villa Park, and
You
that
were
was
you were
we won
fantastic.
3-0. Yeah. That was like Tonali's kind of coming out party, if I remember. I think last season. So that could be anything. So yeah, I'd say like fixture wise, like good Arsenal way. We've proved that we can get a result there. It really depends on game state for them, I think, and what they've got going on. So, yeah, I can see a lot of people trying or thinking of coming off Newcastle after 32, but I wouldn't make it a priority transfer unless you're like there's someone screaming out for like a double 33 fixture, or we've got that Ipswich fixture in 34. So depending what your chips are as well, it's a really good one. If you're lacking a free hit, then like I think you've got no choice but to sort of stay on the 3.
That Chelsea game as well in 36, is currently scheduled for the Saturday lunchtime. It moves to a Sunday 12 o'clock kickoff if Chelsea get to the Conference League semi-finals, which they probably will. So there is a scenario here where if Tottenham don't go through in Europe as well, they're away with their Conference League semi-final second leg on the Thursday and then go to you Sunday lunchtime. So even that
Lovely.
plays right into your hands, I think, as well, mate. You mentioned fantasy. I think let's get on with the chat with that, considering obviously you both got a big double coming up, and for your team, Rory, it's obviously double double. What Newcastle you got, Si?
Triple up. I wildcarded in 30, so I went with Burn. Wasn't worried about his yellow card situation. Although Tino, maybe I should have. I had 0.1 in the bank, so maybe I should have gone Tino. So
Burn
I've
was
got
straight
him.
after the final, right? If you've wildcarded 30s,
Yeah, yeah. Emotionally,
yeah,
I had
yeah,
to
yeah.
put him in. There was no chance I wasn't getting a big Dan Burn after that heroic effort. So I've got him, got Murphy, who obviously did really well last night, recording on Tuesday. Um, so I'm happy with that. And then obviously I think that was made easier by the Gordon decision. Interesting, some news to come out about him today, although it's ITK based, so God knows if that's true or not. But that's not.
Oh, we're not trusting your ITKs. So I don't mean you personally. I just mean Newcastle ITKs. The amount the community
Yeah.
got wound up on Monday. Bloody hell.
I can't believe people
Please
still
take no
listen to
notice of
that.
Newcastle ITKs. I've said this so many times.
No, absolutely don't. Yeah, there was like the best one was like Isak's not traveling. I've had some ITK stuff on him and his contract as well, which made me laugh. And the quote even got, has it gone Karius? I shouldn't say this, 'cause I pronounce his name wrong, but the sporting
Oh,
Swedish
Gokras, yeah,
man,
yeah.
Marcus. the ITK story was that basically Isak wants to sign, but he's waiting until we make some transfer business, and Gokeres is like the key because he wants to play with him, and then they spelt his name wrong.
Okay, fair enough. As you do.
And Isak obviously is the third. I wasn't in any doubt he was going to play, or I did captain him as well. But I think I heard after the deadline, you had some concerns about like his minutes and stuff, and very legitimate and proved to be the case. As is the norm, James, you're spot on with these things. But
Well,
he
not
looked
really. It's
mighty
not like
pissed.
Salah went off, was it? So
No, but he looked mighty pissed off when he came back.
it did
He
feel
came
like
off.
it was a sort of it was going to be a 60, 70 minute appearance. That's what the conclusion I
Yeah,
came to, and I thought Salah's definitely going to be the whole game. Then
yeah,
that was the final influencer for me. Not that it
yeah.
mattered.
So that's my free, and I'm tripled up on Palace as well for having wild card in 30.
Okay, do you want to tell us this Gordon ITK, mate? And we can
Well,
speculate on if we believe it or not.
the rumors are that his injury is more serious than people thought. Howe's not going to tell you anything, so like potentially might be like the door open for Harvey Barnes to stay in the team. In which case, I mean that's a fantastic differential if you're heading for it. And like for example, for me in 34, having been on 3 triple Newcastle, like that's the sort of thing that I might look to do if Gordon is out. So just freshen it up a bit. Which of my 3 I'd be picking in 34 on a free hit. So yeah, interesting with
You
Harvey.
say Howe won't give anything away, but I feel like after the game on Monday night, he pretty much said to us that he's probably not going to be back for the weekend. So I
Oh,
mean,
did he? I
it,
didn't see
it
that
felt
actually.
it felt that way. He wasn't gonna. He didn't come out and say he's not back. But I know there was a lot of rumor that he was going to come back into training on Friday last week, and
Mm.
obviously he's come out last night. He said, "Look, he ain't trained with us yet, and he's not close." So you would think with the way Barnes has been performing, which has been perfectly reasonable as well, he's not going to start against Manchester United anyway, particularly with another game 3 days later. He might be the best case scenario feels like he'd be a sub against United and then maybe start against Palace. That's like the very best case scenario now, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think you can go there for Gordon if you're on him. I think it's with that 33 fixture as well. I'd and 34 being Ipswich, depending on what your free hit is. I'd be looking to move that if you're on Gordon.
So if you're Gordon owner, what are you going, Murphy or Barnes?
I was very tempted by Bruno, to be honest. I felt like, and again, I think it depends. Like, what's your situation? Like Murphy, what's he 5 million, 5-1 now, possibly? Like, just
I pretty
he's going
convinced
to
he'd be
go
the
up.
most bought player this week. I think
Yeah,
probably the
yeah.
way
I
it
mean,
goes normally.
that's a nuts price, and he's I think it's like this season, this calendar year, whatever the stat was, like 14 goal contributions. He's like third behind like Salah and Isak since a certain period of time. I don't know, like recent form. Just he's had an incredible season, and yes, I will mention again as I do every pod that I did tip him up pre-season as everyone that he should be everyone's 5th
Listen, I started with him in game week
FPL
one,
watchman.
sire. I'd
Yeah,
listen to you, mate.
I dropped him
Yeah,
after 2 game weeks because
yeah.
he's
Same.
Size advice comes with a content warning, I think. I started with Lewis Hall and he had 2 starts in the first 5, and then Murphy returned twice in the first 14. So,
yeah. But it was a long haul pick. Actually, you should have stick with
We
it for
we should
38
say
weeks.
Sai also tipped up Miguel Almiron and got laughed at really heavily a few years ago as well. Only for Almiron, admittedly not from the start, but to go on that mad run that he had. We scored in about 6 or 7 in a row, didn't he? So
Yeah, there you go. Like whoever plays well for Howe in pre-season, that's
something
he's
to
gonna have a blinding
something to
one.
know. Do you
yeah,
know what?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he deserves mass credit as well, Jacob Murphy, because the amount of times, Si, you and I have spoke about the desire and the requirement for you to have a new right winger,
yeah,
and yet he's doing all right, isn't he?
but, yeah,
Well, he's doing more than all
fantastic.
right.
Yeah, and I think having a right winger that's right-footed out there, like even on Monday's game against a team as poor as Leicester, like we did not create anything for Isak at all. And with Gordon out the team particularly, it's kind of on Murphy to provide those crosses for him. And he did one. He did one last week at home, and obviously that got the assist for Isak's goal. The opportunities weren't there on Monday, but if it's going to come, having a Murphy Isak double up is probably the way to go. But I do think Bruno will chip in with some more attacking returns towards the end of the season.
I think with Bruno, it would be difficult at this moment to justify paying 6.2 for him rather
over
than
Murphy.
Barnes at 5 point, even Barnes
Yeah,
at 5.9
yeah,
at the moment, and then Murphy 5.1 at the time of recording on Tuesday, probably be more by the time you hear this. I guess the problem with Barnes as well, side would be it might be one more for those who've still got the wild card left. You put him in for 32 and that's it. Because inevitably Gordon probably will take his place back before the season ends, I guess. It's a transfer waiting to happen, maybe. And whichever one you go for, if you don't have the wild card left, you might want for 34. Of course, I know that many will be free hitting in 34 as well. If you're kind of chipless, Barnes is a worse pick, isn't he? He's way more dangerous. But you get the
yeah.
benefit of what you said. It's a great differential.
He started back-to-back games the first time, I think, under Howe. Like it's just not that's just not been his role since we signed him. But yeah, the Gordon injury, it's a hip injury, right? And those things can linger around, and like there is the potential that they might just shut him down for the season, depending on what his England aspirations are for the summer. He might not agree to that. I
I
I
don't
honestly
suppose
think,
Anthony Gordon's that bothered about playing Andorra in the summer, which is pretty much a win they've got,
is
so
it
yeah.
fine? Then it might be that yeah, he potentially could get shut down. In which case, like Harvey Barnes, like he becomes like just based on how selfish he is and the positions he's been taking up. Like you saw where he was for his goal, like becomes a great option if he is going to be locked in for the rest of the season.
Okay. And you went Burn over Livramento. If you had the same choice now, would you make the same choice?
No, I would go Livramento. Two reasons. My dad wildcarded a week later and decided to put Burn in, which annoyed me. So I would have gone differently. And also, like, he's just something about him playing a left back as a right footer. Even though he crossed it with his left foot, he's just seemed to have gone up a gear since he's been playing over on that side. It helps when you're defending against players that like to come inside, which more than half the league is. But yeah, he just seems to thrive in that position.
Interestingly, brilliant stat on Tino Livramento. That he's basically had 50% of his XA this season in the last two games.
Yeah, I think it comes with the system as well. Like Lewis Hall and Howe is very much a systems person, and maybe like Trippier just hasn't got hasn't got the legs on him to be the sort of pivot that he was previously. Like
Yeah.
he used to be the
Trippier used to fly, and now it's Trippier can't.
rest
So
in
yeah.
peace. Yeah, it was him, Longstaff, and Miggy in that beautiful little triangle that got us into the Champions League. That is no more. And I think his role slightly changed. He's more like a set piece specialist. So, and I wouldn't. If for people still thinking about it, I don't think Trippier is going to be fit for the rest of the season. I think it's too many games, and you see him come off with 10 minutes to go, knackered every game, and it feels like that's just a potential injury waiting to happen.
On what I watched Monday night and obviously watched the cup final as well, I don't think now you could justify paying the million more for Trippier and Livramento. I don't know if I'd pick Trippier if they were the same price. Be close
I still would. I still
because of
would.
the set piece threat, right? I
Well,
mean, he had a direct free kick at goal and takes corners.
I'd still pick Dan Burn because he won us a cup, so
I hear you.
Yeah, he's going in next season, game one as well.
Any love for I only want to shoot for my own half, Fabian Schär?
Oh, God,
Although he did shoot in the opposition half from about 30 yards in the second half as well.
God, we spent a bit of time talking about him on the last pod. Yeah, just he will probably score the most points. He'll probably get a goal. He's due a goal, I think, and you can see that like he's very close. He's probably on Jonty's goal imminent table now after that effort on Monday. But yeah,
I don't think that's quite how it works. I don't think the XG was high on it. So
whatever. I don't know for that stuff. I'm a grass guy, you know that, and he's a beautiful man. So yeah, if you want a differential in your team, Sarr, I would tip him. I think one of our centre backs will get a goal, which is kind of why I went with Burn. It feels like I wasn't convinced by Trippier's ability to stay fit. I didn't think Tino's output would be worth it, and I felt like Burn in one of these games might pop up with a clean sheet and a winner. So that's kind of why I went with him.
okay, if you wildcarded now, Simon was going free Newcastle. Which three do you think you would go at this point?
I would go Tino or Burn. Like Tino's just had his points. I think Burn is due to potentially outscore him. So I'd go definitely one of those two. Murphy, and Isak would be the three that I would go with.
Same question, but if you were free hitting,
Free hitting this week,
yeah,
I would
just for the
go.
double.
Interesting. I would go. Oh, it's 2 home games, so you want a piece of that defense. Although I wouldn't be surprised if you don't keep a clean sheet. I would potentially go Murphy, Barnes, and Isak. I still think Isak. I'm sure we'll get onto captaincy, but I would be tempted by the triple attack if you can find enough of the defense elsewhere.
Okay, interesting. Rory, I want to bring you in because you've got a bit of a Newcastle dilemma yourself, haven't you?
No, I had Hall and Gordon, so I've only got one Newcastle player.
So
So
they're gone.
yeah, because they've been replaced.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, should I add a Newcastle player this week? Because I'm bench boost 33. So do you think it's worth adding a Newcastle player for this week?
That
Given
question's
that I'm
aimed
not
for
going.
you, Si, not me.
Yeah, because I literally only have Isak. So you've got 2 home games. So
Did you
So
say you were going to bench boost this week?
in
yeah,
33.
33.
So it's like, does he want
Um,
to get like a Murphy in and bench boost him away to Villa in 33? Is kind of you win
yeah,
to lose a little bit. Yeah, I think is kind of where you're alluding to here, Rory. It
that
feels that way.
it's tricky. I would at this stage of the season, I would just chase the game week in front of you
I think that's
and
right.
go for it. If it makes your team stronger for your 11 this week, I would go for it. Murphy's a bit of a streaky player as well, and when his
Okay.
confidence is high, like it will be, even though he almost fucked the second goal up. I think ride it. But equally, if you've got the transfers, like Harvey Barnes might be, I would not be surprised if Harvey Barnes outscores him this week, and potentially would be a better option next week. Or if you've got the transfer, just get rid. But then you
Well,
don't want to do the hokey cokey for 34 as well. So it really is chip dependent, I think.
I'm on wildcard 34, so I could easily. Who would be the best punt for the next 2 weeks then? Would you just go with Barnes on the basis of your ITK?
If he's full in the ITK, he's not going to recommend that, mate.
Yeah, probably actually. Yeah, I think
Let
I
me
would.
let me just plant this seed in your mind, Rory, and I'm sure there'll be listeners and viewers in the same here. If I said to you now, Murphy will get 18 points across the next 2 game weeks, you'd buy him in a flash, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If I said you was going to get 16 points in game week 32 and 2 points in game week 33 on your bench boost, does that change it?
No, I guess not.
No,
Guess it
that's the
doesn't.
point, isn't it?
But you've also got to
That's
factor
for
in that.
me. If I'm bench boosting, I'm not having 2 points on my bench boost.
Yeah, but that does make me feel I am therefore betting that he'll get 16 points, including returns against my own team. So I've got to see it in a kind of
No, I hear that. I
biased,
just think
biased
it's
way.
the size point about attack what's in front of you is the right thing. I actually think Newcastle's easiest game in the double is the first one, by the way, rather than the second one. Your away form, Rory. You have some players back Wednesday. We'll talk about it in a sec as well. And obviously for United, it falls in between Europa quarterfinals. So I don't think you're going to get the best version of Manchester United at the weekend either.
Mm.
So it's just interesting, psychological. Oh, I don't want to look at a Newcastle 2-pointer on my bench in 33. But if it's hauled in 32, it's done you the job, isn't it? He's psychological because that Newcastle player probably will end up one of your 4 subs and you're going to
Nah,
bench boost.
if you know he's going to score 2 points in 33, just put him in your starting 11. And
It's
he's
also
fine.
worth saying if Lee Jackson was sitting here, he would tell you that Newcastle will score at Aston Villa in game week 33.
Yeah, we will. I think we will.
Well,
I'm not sure we'll win, but we'll score.
yeah. I suppose they've sorted out their defense, though, Villa, in the last couple of weeks, haven't
Still prone to letting one go in as they did against Forest at the weekend.
Howe's got is Emery's number. He will. If we don't win, we'll definitely. They're not keeping a clean sheet in that game. I don't think with the fixtures they've got coming up. So, pretty confident on that.
Interesting. What do you think you'll do with the Newcastle players, Rory?
I think I will probably captain Isak, even against Palace, just on the basis that he's probably got the best. I mean, he's definitely got the best double compared to Palace players. And then I think based on that, if it is a punt on the Gordon stuff, I would probably be interested in getting Barnes in because Murphy, I think, is quite erratic. But then he scored against us last time. He had a cross that the wind blew in. I don't know if you remember, Si.
I do.
He meant
4-0, wasn't it? 4-0 in the first half.
Yeah,
He meant that. Tonali meant it against against Brentford as well. So every cross come shot is 100% meant in my eyes.
That's what they practice in training.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to leave captaincy for a bit, but since you brought it up, Rory, we'll do that. Your captain, Isak. So I don't need to ask you the same question, do I? Or you going Murphy now, eh?
No, I will go Isak. But if you were to ask me, do I? There's a couple of questions, I guess. Do I think he'll be the top scorer of the game week? I would not surprise me if he's not. I think he genuinely has something that needs to be managed more on a kind of fatigue basis. So the groin injury wouldn't surprise me in the summer if he needs like some sort of surgery on it. So these like 60, 70-minute games, I think are going to become regular. And like trying to read his body language when he came off on Monday, I think he was partly pissed off because the service was dreadful and he knew that he could have and probably should have been like had stuff laid on a plate for him. He didn't look like he was in any duress. I think it was such an easy game for us that he could have played the 90, but it was probably like pre-scripted that he would come off.
He sort of give minutes to the other lads sitting on the
Yeah,
bench who are
yeah, yeah,
available now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like he was properly annoyed, and the fact he blanked as well just makes me think that he's gonna do some damage in one of these two games, if not both of them. But I don't think the minutes will be there.
For me, there's no doubt in my mind about captaincy. None. That's not a debate. I think the debate would more be for those who want to triple captain him. Do they, or do they wait?
Yeah, just get it done.
I
Again, it
agree.
depends what you've got left. I don't know, but like, what are you waiting for? I mean, he like could potentially score more in 34 than he does in this double. Like, wouldn't surprise me. I think he'll return. Do I think he's going to get the most points in the game week? You got to put the captaincy on him just from a percentage play, but wouldn't surprise me if it's like two returns.
For those triple captaincy, I guess alternatives. If you're out of chips and that's like all you've got left, I suppose if you're unsure, you wait till 33 and you go Saka or Marmoush, maybe, I guess. Or maybe you're also hoping for a different double at 36 at the end. Maybe Haaland's back for Southampton and Bournemouth, for example. Probably not likely, by the way, in terms of him being back. Marmoush may be an option then. Perhaps if it lands differently, who knows? Maybe Mateta will have Tottenham and Wolves as a double in 36. That's a possibility. But I unless you would kind of and ahhing about which chip to use this week, if you had the triple captaincy, I don't know why you wouldn't just use it personally.
It can be
Yeah,
fun to play at last game of the season then, especially
I
because you
hear
do get
that.
some random results like the Palace
I hear that.
Villa game. So Arsenal have got someone at the
We
last
go
game of the
Isak
season.
against Everton in
I,
38 instead.
Ar-
here's a hot
Arsenal
take for you
home to
then.
Southampton.
My hot take would be that Isak will score more points in a different game week than this double in the season. So he will score more points than this week in
You're
either
probably right.
34 or 38 or even 36 against Chelsea. Just
Uh, ch-
because of the injury and everything else that's going on. I think it's
the chances are you're right, but good luck guessing which one.
just captain all of them, and then you can't be wrong.
Let me sell it a different way. If I said to you now he plays, let's go conservative, right? And let's assume he's a little bit of an issue. Let's say it's the same again, right? It's 140 minutes across the double, 270s. If I said to you now he blanks, are you surprised?
Am I surprised if he blanks in both games?
Yeah, across the
Yes.
whole double, no
Yes.
attacking returns, nothing across 140 minutes.
Yes. But also I've just seen him play Leicester and us create fuck all for him in 70 minutes when like yeah, and that is part of the conundrum with like Isak as captaincy is by far our best player, but we don't play, particularly with Gordon out as well. We don't always play to like his strength. So talisman, you could argue like is he talisman? Yes, purely because he's so good and he plays up front and percentage wise, he's going to get the most like chances to return points. But it's not as if the team is necessarily like built around him. So would I be surprised if he blanks? Yes. Do I think he's going to be the top point scorer this week? I think it'll probably end up being someone random, but I think everyone will be pretty happy. And I guess like the question is, does he outscore Salah? I guess, but with Salah blanking 2 weeks in a row, potentially people aren't as hot on going for him. So you just go with the field and captain them. I think
Yeah, it'd be Joe Linton would be the highest point scorer. We already know that, I think.
Bruno might
Okay.
be.
Let's
Share.
let's
Yeah,
sell you a
sure.
narrative then, Si. Alexander Isak struggles against back fives. True or false?
I don't know. You tell me.
I,
Excuse me.
I don't have the answer, but
You got a stat for me.
he's just blanked against back three. United slash Palace, we know we're going to play with wing backs.
Can't call Leicester a back three. They're not even a football team.
Well, okay. Second half, it was a back four, actually. West Ham played a back three against you. Played 78 minutes, didn't score.
He does decoy. He does decoy stuff, and in a back three, if he's got someone like on him, he's intelligent enough to manipulate that and bring others in. So yeah, like if you were going to say like he might struggle against, well, I don't know if he'll struggle against United. I just think the two home games and him in the mood, having like experienced what he experienced, and he would have gone into that game thinking like I'm on for another like hat trick here and wants to get up to the Premier League Golden Boot and all that. I still think
Yeah,
he's inevitable. He's too good.
he'll have his targets, and I almost feel I would even feel even more like I wanted to do it off the fact that he's just
Yeah,
blanked.
yeah. I'm the same. Like,
Yeah,
but seeing his expression coming off, I was like, this is. I hope people doubt. I hope he's got a little yellow flag on FPL, and everyone worries about it for the next week. And it's like, no doubt in my mind, it's going to be on him, and what happens happens. And end of the day, like from my perspective, as long as we get 6 points, I'll be happy if none of my players return.
okay. Rory, what Palace you got, mate? Well, he's got none apparently, 'cause he's just left the call.
Oh, I can tell you, yeah.
Oh, Rory's back. He was so disappointed listening to that Newcastle stuff, he decided to leave us. And as soon as he got a Palace question, decided to move on. I'll ask again, Rory. What Palace have you got at the moment?
I've only got Munoz and Mateta.
Add
So
in a third or not, do you think?
I'm not planning to, mostly because of the suspensions. I don't know what's actually going to happen. And I think with the second one in 33, that Arsenal fixture, I also don't know who's going to get 2 games that week. So I don't think anyone will get 4. I think it's possible if anyone's going to get 4, it would be, just thinking it through, it'd be Henderson, Richards, or Will Hughes. I think most of the other people are probably going to get a rest in at least one game, and I say that because Richards and Hughes have both been out. So bring them back in. They've already had a bit of a rest, and Henderson's the keeper. So I mean, Turner could get a game. I don't think he'll get the FA Cup semi. So I do think in that Arsenal game they will probably rotate fairly heavily, or maybe they'll do the rotation over the 3 or 4 games before it. I don't know how they're going to work it.
Are you, from a fan perspective, you pissed off you've got that Arsenal game 3 days for the semi-final?
Yeah, I mean, you were saying, of course, you've got to have it there because otherwise the only place they could schedule it would be just before the final.
Possibly.
But to be fair, at that stage of the season, so we're playing when we play Arsenal, it's likely Arsenal will still have even a slim glimmer of hope of winning the league. So you've got to take it seriously. Whereas otherwise, in game week 36, they'll probably be mathematically impossible to win the league and guaranteed second. And you can just play a bunch of children. We could play the under eights, and it's not a big issue. So I'd almost rather it were there. But yeah, having that game there, I do hope they take the piss with it, to be honest, and play like Caleb
D
Kapoor right back.
does that mean if you own no Palace now and we're in a defensive one, does that make Henderson now the best buy?
Probably, yeah.
Because he'll probably play the four rather than Munoz is probably going to be free here, isn't he?
Yeah, Munoz will play 3. I don't think he'll play the Arsenal game, which you could say is possibly the worst game, maybe.
Are you,
So
are you are you expecting it to be the Arsenal game that gets all the
no,
rotation? So
no, it
you
won't
think
happen.
it will get split across all 4 games? So just for the benefit of listeners and viewers, it's obviously it's Manchester City Saturday lunchtime, Newcastle away on the Wednesday, then Bournemouth at home on the Saturday, then Arsenal away on the Wednesday, then Villa Saturday evening in the Cup semi-final.
Yeah, so if you look at it practically, Guehi is suspended for this weekend, so that might be his rest, and he might get the other 3 because we haven't actually got much depth at centre back because Chalobah went back to
Yeah.
Chelsea. Um, So that could be his rest, so he could get the other 3 games. Because honestly, who we play? Because if we want to rest Munoz, then Klein has to play at right wing back. He could play Kapoor there though, actually, thinking about it, and then he could play Klein as the right sided centre half. We could see Joel Ward make another appearance somewhere along the line. So Henderson's the most likely to play all 4. Hughes will probably play all 4 as well because they want to give Wharton a rest. They might play Lerma at centre back. One of the games potentially. I mean, Lerma will have to play against City this weekend because Guehi is
Yeah, he's
suspended.
suspended. Yeah.
So it's just difficult. I mean, Eze will get a break at some point. Sarr will get a break at some point. Mateta obviously has to play the first game this weekend. I'd imagine they will look at that Bournemouth home game and think that's the best chance of getting points from these. So we might see more rotation in the midweek games in the Arsenal and the Newcastle game. But then Man City, we have enforced rotation, I guess, because of the Guehi being suspended and then possibly Lacroix with the head injury stuff, which
Y-
could be enforced. But then it's like supposedly it's okay if he
Do
manages to
we
pass the checks.
do we know? Is that what it's likely to be? They'll check on the Quai if he passes the checks. Because am I right in saying that was a concussion substitute at the weekend, wasn't it?
It was, but he was clearly faking it. So he was clearly just wasting
Right.
time because he's running around after the game, cheering at the crowd and everything. He's absolutely fine. But so
Yeah,
Lacroix,
but could that have been that he's a bit hyper and he's like I don't know.
well, he
I've
does
never
that
been
every
concussed, so you
every
tell
game.
me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think. I mean, you're not supposed to go to sleep, to be fair, and he wasn't doing that. But so it says, according to the concussion protocol, he can potentially play against City as it's day 7 post injury. But that's the earliest possible return. I don't know how that relates to I call the concussion stuff because obviously Allison has got a similar situation at the moment, but he's clearly training. So Lacroix, obviously, if he couldn't train, you'd probably say he wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah.
But Allison got the head injury and he's posting pictures of himself in training for Liverpool. So I'd imagine even with the head injury, he's fine to train. He's just not fine to play. So it's probably similar with Lacroix that he will be training this week. I'd imagine he'll pass the checks. I think he was faking it,
Okay.
but
It's a
you
bit
never
naughty,
know.
mate, in a concussion sub then, mate. Just saying.
Well, if the rules are there, people are going to bend them, aren't they?
It's the things you'll do for a top half finish, Rory. Come on, you should be better than that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the two midweek games, the Newcastle and the Arsenal games, are the ones you should be most concerned about from the rotation perspective. You'd certainly make a case that they're arguably the two most difficult fixtures considering City's form this season. And as you said, there's enforced rotation probably going to happen with the likes of Gay this week, and you've got a free midweek before the City game. So it does feel like, yeah, the midweek games. I mean, I see you changing 6 or 7, I think, for the Arsenal game. I think you might find that you might get something like Sarr doesn't play Bournemouth, but then plays at Arsenal, like a
Yeah,
one out, something like that.
Don't
you got to
say
have a
that.
threat. You got to have a threat somewhere.
Maybe rather than just like taking them all out and I don't know what would it be like Kamada and Devaney behind Nketiah at Arsenal, for example.
I mean, that sounds. But then,
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
So you might mix and match it a little bit.
he could do. I mean, we've just got Romain Essa, who hasn't played that much,
Yes.
so he could play the right-sided attacking midfielder. But you're probably right. Eze will play one, so will play the other. Would probably be a good way of thinking about it. And against Arsenal, it'll probably be Sarr, but it'll probably be Sarr and Nketiah and Kamada. Yeah, I would think behind the
So
striker.
and listen, we could be well overthinking this, but what we're actually saying here is there's a chance that you've got 4 fixtures coming up against across the next 2 weeks. Bournemouth at home is not easy, but certainly the easiest of those on paper, and that might be the one that Ismaila Sarr doesn't play.
Yeah, he could be. But then the way that they play, that he might be our best asset in that because both us and them press a lot and are very direct. So it being end to end, that could even be too fast for Eze to get involved, and then they could think Kamade's quite good at pressing. So then maybe you play Eze in the Arsenal game because we'll need all we can get from set pieces. Maybe. So you could spin it either way. I don't I like I said, I think the only people if you want 3 games, if you were going triple Palace and you want 4 games, sorry, you would go Henderson, Richards, Hughes, because those are the only people I can see playing all those games.
And Richards obviously needs to get the thumbs up for the
Yeah,
weekend.
I think
But
he's fine. He will be
Glasner's
fine.
been quite honest about that anyway. So if he's not available, he'll
And
tell you
Gay's
anyway.
out. So if Gay's out, then Richards kind of has to play, or we will be playing Joel Ward and Nathaniel Klein
What's
either
what,
side.
what what's the back three this weekend if they're all out?
If they're all out,
Gay, Lacroix, and Richards.
Glasner might have to play himself. Thinking it would be Lerma. That there might genuinely have to be someone from the academy might have to step up.
Should I
Ward,
play
Lerma,
Foden?
Klein, something like that.
Um, you could play Mitchell as a centre back as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mitchell, L- Lerma, Klein. Who would then be the central centre back? Lerma,
Well, probably Lerma. Yeah, I'm thinking Klein would probably be most adaptable to actually play the left side of the centre back
and
role.
then
It's awful
Mitchell,
though.
and then Chilwell would be left wing back, and Mitchell it would possibly be that. I mean, of the depth that we had there, Gay is suspended, Charlie Riyad's injured. if Lacroix is out and Richards is out, we also have Doucouré who can play at centre back, and so they would have looked at that at the start of the season and thought, oh, we've got plenty of cover there.
For
But
the Phil Foden and Savinho owners out there, don't go early on your Crystal Palace choice. Yeah, just maybe wait because you may well want those players this weekend,
I've
subject
just
to how
put
that
Foden
lands.
back. I've just put Foden back in, and I might start Guardiola as well after you
That's
just told me all that, Rory.
that's a different podcast, Si. So yeah, I'm in a similar position to you, Rory. I've got Munoz, Mateta, and I don't intend to add.
yeah, if you do, Henderson's probably the best bet. But then, I mean, he'll get save points as well as the other element of that. If the team is weaker and we haven't got any centre backs, he'll probably have to make some saves. But he
Yeah,
could concede five. Who knows?
I think I'm probably going to leave it. If you were free hitting this week, which free Palace?
Free hit, I would punt on it being for these two games. I do think Munoz will probably double. Um, yeah, be Munoz, Mateta, Sarr probably would say.
Okay.
Three.
Why Sarr over Eze?
Um, well, I suppose actually at the moment it's quite difficult to spend the money on the free hits. I just think Sarr against some of these teams where we're going to be on the counter attack, Sarr will probably be able to expose some space a bit more. You could say we do score a lot of corners and Eze takes corners from one side anyway, so you could make a case for Eze as well. But yeah, but my preference is for Sarr. But Eze has underperformed massively statistically and is therefore due overperforming if you believe in regression to the mean.
Sun's out though, but two of these games are going to be at night, so it's only Man City away and Bournemouth at home he performs. He only plays in the sunshine, doesn't he, Roy?
Yeah, fortunately the Villa game's in the sun, obviously.
Yeah, it depends though, because at Wembley, if it's really sunny, you might have one side's in the shade, mate. I don't know if that's going to work or not, mate.
Yeah, it's quite late as well, so the sun will be lower in the sky. So that could have an effect. 5:30 p.m.
There's a little hidden message for the listeners there as well. Rory's priority here as a fan is that FA Cup semi-final, not the upcoming league games. I take it neither of you on Arse man at the moment.
Nope.
No, I've done that.
Yeah, done that. Rory, you done?
Yeah, I did slot Glasner.
Okay. I'm on your man, Si, and relatively happy with the 11-point start. I intend to carry on with that. I'm gonna move to Arteta, I know, in game week 33, I think, Si. Got any arguments against that with them doubling and you going to Villa?
No, no, makes sense. Go for it. You got to go for a doubler.
Good. I've seen, Rory, a few people that are on Glasner who want to move. They want to find the money for how.
How do
Because
you
they're
find the
nervous
money?
about it's like something's built here because of the Gay suspension. I don't know if these people were thinking that you were going to win at City anyway, which you're capable of doing,
Yeah,
but
but did
it
they
seems
watch
to
the
have moved the
Manchester
needle for
derby?
some people. I don't know why.
I don't know if those people watched the Manchester derby because that was honestly some the worst 90 minutes of football I've watched this season. That was awful. I don't know if it was just because it was obviously Man United they're playing against, but they had zero penetration as well. So yeah, look, Haaland's there, and he could easily batter us single-handedly. But
Haaland's not going to play, mate.
oh yeah, he's injured, isn't he? So
Marmoush might though.
Marmoush could batter us single-handedly. But yeah, look, I'm not. It is. Look, Lacroix will probably play, and Richards will play, and then it'll be Lerma. So it's not actually that much of a downgrade, I guess. Richards left-sided centre half. So and then central midfield will probably be Wharton and Hughes. So I think overall they'll probably be fine as long as Lacroix is fit. Then it should be fine.
Okay,
Would you?
Go on, Si,
I,
sorry.
I was pleased. I need to know whether I should play my City assets or not because I hadn't benched at one point before this call.
Who have you got?
I've got three: Marmoush, Guardiola, and one of those knobs that went Foden
I would definitely play Marmoush and Vardy,
I
but
guess it depends what you're paying them for, doesn't it, Si? Come on.
over Konsa because I'm waiting for the European. It's that third centre back slot because I've got Munoz, I've got Burn, so it's my third.
I mean,
centre back.
Konsa's probably either.
Not
I
going to
know he
play.
came on at the weekend, but I would think for this one he probably either starts or doesn't play at all, probably.
Hmm. I think I might go Guardiola over him anyway. Now
yeah,
that Southampton have made a manager change.
And what's the attacking one you're thinking about?
Well,
You got Foden.
I got Foden, so it's Foden or Saka, I guess. It's like, and again, European games dependent whether I think Saka's going to get another benching or not. But Foden looks so shit that I might just get rid of him anyway next week and bench him next week.
I think I'd play Saka on that personally. Yeah, I do
Right.
think. I mean, look, again, we're recording this prior to Arsenal's game on Tuesday night, but I think Saka will start on Saturday, and I think that probably is enough. I would think, to go him over a Foden that you don't know is going to play.
Hmm.
I don't know that Saka will play, but I think the 4 day gaps for Arsenal, he probably will. Glasner assistant manager, those who activated in 31, Rory, or maybe even a few that activated in 30 because you had Southampton. Surely they just stick here, don't they?
Yeah, I mean they would have suffered through that Southampton game if they're. I think so. I mean that is the downside of this chip, is it does lock you in because it costs you a transfer if you want to move. Um, I mean we could get something. It wouldn't be that surprising, and Glasner does seem to be quite single-minded about just playing his best team in every single game. I mean we weren't very strong in the League Cup as well, but yeah, the FA Cup semi-final is something a little bit different to have in the back of our minds.
Would you consider moving him on in 33?
Um, well, because I mean, no offense to Bournemouth, but they're not in fantastic form themselves at the moment. So I think there's probably more of a chance of returns in that double game week than this one. I mean, Arsenal away is obviously, a little bit of a free hit, but
Yeah, the thinking very much here is, a draw here would be the same as beating Bournemouth, essentially. It's not going to be far off, right?
mm.
So it's to get something. I suppose if you're a Glasner owner, you'd take 2 draws now, wouldn't you? You'd be
Yeah.
you'd be delighted with that.
Well, you definitely wouldn't bring him in, and then the alternative, I suppose, is going to Howe. If you feel that you would have to take a -4, it's not worth getting rid of Glasner because there is always a chance that we could do something in games away from home. Three of these next four are away from home. We've got very good record there, so we could do something. But yeah, I wouldn't play my chip now to get Glasner.
Yeah. It doesn't feel as soon as because I would if the Brighton game had been a bonus, I'd have gone there. Definitely. And I
Yeah,
feel
because
like
that's nailed on 3 points, isn't it, James? So
I
obviously you're getting that.
well, it was the appeal of at least one of the Brighton or the Bournemouth fixtures. To have neither was a bit of a slap, actually, and a little bit unfortunate. And obviously, Villa lost their bonus as well by consequence of also winning at Brighton and you losing your bonus. So it knocked out the prospect of having Emery against Forest. And obviously, you both won. But I'm quite happy that it kind of fell into my lap of thinking, yeah, do you know what? That's gonna solve my problem with just going Eddie Howe, actually. I'm pretty content with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably likely to lose that game at St James's because yeah, I wouldn't expect too many points from Glasner um, away at St James's and at Man City.
I would say you're probably the most like if you look at all the teams we've lost against this season, your profile of team is the closest one to that we've got left. And I'd say outside of Arsenal away, just because that might be like there might be a lot riding that for them potentially in game 37. It's the last home game. I'd say like yours is probably your hardest game left at home. Could argue Brighton away in 35, but yeah, I don't know, something about playing Palace always just we find it quite difficult. Your style
Yeah,
and the players you got.
because earlier on this season it was 1-1, but I think we scored an own goal and you had one shot in the game.
Yeah, we were
And
shit.
yeah, so maybe from that perspective, but there is always a feeling that you are much worse away, and going to St James's is always tricky. And we always seem to play you on a Wednesday night for some reason. We always play you in.
I'm happy. Let's just put it that way. Where
I would like
we've
to tell you,
landed for
Rory,
some reason.
that Jacob Murphy cross was in the sunshine, mate.
Oh yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, but I just remember the one after we played Chelsea in the last time we got to the semi-final with the FA Cup, and they beat us 1-0. It might even have been Steve Bruce's Newcastle, and Miguel Almiron scored, and I was just like, yeah, that's just typical, isn't it?
And do you remember the Tyreek Mitchell VAR incident, the disallowed goal? That was also in the sunshine at St James's Park.
Was it? Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was during COVID, wasn't it?
Did I say Tyreek?
Yeah, it is
You knew what I meant.
Tyreek.
Is
It
it?
is
Is that
Tyreek.
correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. People say Tyreek, but it's
He's
definitely
trying to make him
Tyreek.
French there because he's not getting enough English appearance. Not that France need a left back, I don't think. One final question for you both before we do correct score predictions. In a world where Isak was a known absentee this game week, Sire, firstly, who would you captain?
Out of my squad, I would. Oh God, I don't think I would go Newcastle because Callum Wilson would be up front, and he plays in jeans these days. So if I wouldn't take a gamble on Murphy, I would probably just put it on Mateta.
Rory?
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I mean that goal was brilliant, wasn't it? Where he struck that, and he also had the chances at Southampton. hit the crossbar and Ramsdale made a good save. So it's not like having half an ear has actually affected him that much.
So you'd go Mateta under that circumstance, would you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You make a really good point. So I've got it viced on Murphy at the moment, but you make a very good point. What's the threat of Newcastle in the same way if Isak isn't playing? Rather than just
Bruno
thinking,
winner.
oh, well, the next best Newcastle asset is him. I think Marmoush is the cheeky shout this week, actually. If you had players really ruled out, you got Salah's got a good fixture. You got to go a doubler, haven't you?
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
singular.
Let's do correct score predictions. Si, firstly, Manchester United at home.
2-0 Newcastle win.
Rory, Manchester City away.
2-0 City.
Si, Crystal Palace at home.
2-1 Newcastle win.
Rory, Newcastle away.
2-0 Newcastle.
So you're saying, Rory, you're going to lose both games 2-0. Is that what you just said to me?
Yeah.
It's not much of a sell, that, is it?
Why are you captaining Boom 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 then?
It's a good question, Si. I'm going to captain Mateta. I think we lose 4-0 across the week.
That's Boom 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 Boom, isn't it?
Yeah, we need an answer there, Rory. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it's just probability. I mean, if because Isak's going to play, so
No,
if
that's it,
if
yeah.
you're telling me if Isak's not going to play, then it does change calculations a little bit. Got a little bit less to worry about, and we could sit in, I think, more with Wilson in there. Um, but yeah, if Isak plays, then we lose basically.
Okay. It's interesting. The weekend games, you've gone for the exact same correct score predictions of what I've got at the moment, which is 2-0 to yourself, Si. I think, like I said, with United having the Leon games either side, I think plays into your hands. I think Guehi is a very big miss for you, Rory, and City having a full week to prepare. I think, yeah, probably similar. But I actually think you might get something next Wednesday, Rory. I think your point, Si, about when you were talking earlier about the games you'd lost and the games you have left, not feeling like anyone kind of falls into that category. And I think you kind of reminded yourself towards the end, Palace might be in the line a little bit like Bournemouth and Fulham. And I can see a scenario where you have a good day Sunday and then it's just Palace Wednesday. And they set
Right.
up really well to hurt on the counter, as we know. So I think you might get something next Wednesday. I'll probably go 1-1. I don't think 4 points would be disastrous for you this week, Si. I think it's the minimum you'd want, but I don't think it would be disastrous.
No, I think if other teams are dropping points, that's kind of the main thing. And we saw it last season. Everyone was falling over themselves to try and get in the Champions League. And it might be a similar thing this season.
Do you think you'll finish top five?
I do now, yeah.
Yeah.
I came on the last pod and was a bit worried about the Brentford game being a potential banana skin, but we managed to get through it. Didn't play great, did what we needed to against Leicester. I think Eddie's got them tuned up and ready to kind of lock in and on this little stretch of the season. And when he does that, typically the team gets results.
Yeah, I think ultimately as well, like you do have a couple of injuries at the moment in terms of your left hand side with Lewis Hall and Anthony Giordon, but at the moment the team feels like it's quite secure in terms of the 11. As long as you don't lose any more bodies, I think you'll be all right. I think them home games are good enough. You'll get the results as well, mate. Rory, a very special good luck to you in the FA Cup semi-final, mate.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope you do it, mate.
I think we've got a good chance, and we're the only team left that hasn't won it. So that's something for the neutrals to get behind, I think. Or the only one that hasn't won a major trophy, definitely. There.
Having just done it ourselves for the first time in everyone's lifetime, so I also hope you do it for that reason and have something to celebrate a season. It'd be nice to see you do it over.
All
Over
right.
teams,
Well, if that happens, you two can have your own little Zoom call. Unless my
yeah.
team also wins the Europa League, in which case we'll just do a podcast, the three of us again in the summer and celebrate everyone else's misery. I find that unlikely. Si, anything you want to plug before we finish?
No, I'm good. Thanks. Apart from the obvious Planet FPL stuff,
Thank
still
you,
some
sweetheart.
double game weeks to get signed up and get James's advice.
More content coming. Rory, anything for you, mate?
Nah, I haven't got anything to plug.
Thank you both so much. Ask James tomorrow is scheduled for 2 p.m. UK time. I've got two Clash of Correspondents for you next week ahead of Game Week 33. Tuesday, Ipswich versus Arsenal with Paul Gort Allen and Adam Pritchard. And I think there's more to game week 33 than just doublers. So next Thursday, West Ham United versus Southampton with Chris Stone and Matt Samuel. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Sire and to Rory. Good luck, gentlemen. Cue music, please, man child.